Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining us again today. Well, today we're going to be having a quick look at the SECURITY-380 by Ruger. A lot of gun manufacturers have been making smaller, lighter pistols, in some cases with less powerful cartridges like 380, to give more options to people who have limited hand strength and maybe smaller hands. Does the 380 live up to those expectations? Well, we're going to find out in just a minute. All right, once again, welcome back. Thanks for being with us today. If this is your first time coming to our channel, or if you've been watching our videos before and you just haven't had the chance until now and you like our content, please consider subscribing. You can locate that subscribe button in the lower right hand corner of your computer screen there. Or if you're on a mobile device, you can just scroll down below the video and subscribe that way. It's a real simple thing, but it helps us out a whole lot, and we really appreciate it. So, the SECURITY-380 by Ruger. There's a lot of people, we shoot in different groups, and we get new shooters every week, and we get more and more female shooters are coming every week. A lot of people are really taking their self-defense seriously, and I think it's good for everyone to have the ability to feel confident that they can protect themselves. And people are always asking me, well, what's a good option? Of course, my answer is always the same, which is you need to just shoot, as many things as you can and find out what you shoot well and what you're comfortable with. But the issue of racking the slide and the weight of the gun and the size of the gun always seems to come into play. So we're going to start off like we normally do here with a little bit of size comparison. For a 380, this isn't a small gun, but it's also not a huge gun. And the closest thing that I carry regularly that's kind of in the same size is my little HK P30 SK here. Now, the HK is just a little bit bigger and fatter through the grip because this is a 9mm. But as far as, the outline, because you got to remember, if you're going to carry this in the holster, it's going to have a certain size profile, and these are, not all that different from each other as far as the overall bulk. Now, if you're going to carry in a purse or something like that, you definitely notice the difference in this being lighter than, say, the P30 SK. Now, just to put it in perspective, of course, Glock has their little 380, the little 42. Well, obviously, the 42 looks like a baby next to the Ruger. And the 42 is a very, very small gun. But I just want you to kind of see the perspective about how big this thing is, because it is a small, it's considered a compact handgun, and it's much lighter than its 9mm counterpart. So it is going to be a little bit easier to carry because of that, but it's always a good idea to have a realistic, expectation of size on this thing when you're thinking about this as a carry gun. All right, we're going to jump right into the features here, but before we do, we want to take a moment to thank our friends over at Don's Weaponry for providing us this beautiful example of the SECURITY-380 by Ruger for our tabletop review today. Don's Weaponry is a huge supporter of firearm safety and education, and we can't thank them enough. So, we'll do a quick safety check here, obviously, before we start getting into all this. Magazine is empty. You can see there's nothing in the chamber, so we are clear and safe. So we'll start where we normally do, which is the top, and you'll notice that you have a fiber optic sight to go with your rear metal sight with the groove there. I like that. I think anything that's a little bit high visibility is better than just dots or just plain steel, and you can adjust the rear sight. You've got some lightning cuts out of the slide here, and you got some nice grooves here in the front and on the rear. So it's easy to grab this thing. Now, Ruger advertises this firearm as, they're aiming for people that, are maybe looking for something that's easier to rack, and they call this a light racking system. And just to give you a comparison, I can take any other gun. I showed you the little Glock earlier as far as size, and you can see that this is empty. If I take even this little Glock 42 and I go to rack it, okay, this is a pretty stout little spring in here. I can do it. It's not a problem, but I can feel it takes a bit of pressure to make that happen. Holding this the same way, didn't have to use near as much energy. As a matter of fact, I pulled it back a lot faster than I meant to just because of the spring on the other one. So it's a lot easier to manipulate the slide on this than even the little 42. So I would say that the light racking system is very much as advertised. So that's nice. And of course, you do have your slide lock here and release on the side. This firearm does have a manual safety here, so you get that little extra layer of protection there. The trigger on this, now just a reminder, of course, this is a 380, but this is a hammer-fired pistol. You can't see it, but if you look really closely here, I rack the firearm. If you look inside there, see where my thumb is, you get a little bit of a shine there, and then watch that disappear. Okay, so your hammer is there, it's just shrouded on the inside, and it goes away just like that. Now the trigger, we'll talk about more of that in the range section. The trigger is actually not bad for a double action only pistol. When you engage the trigger here, you get a little bit of travel, but you get a little squeeze and then boom, it's really clean. I like triggers that don't have a whole lot of travel and then get a nice clean little snap, and that's what you get here. It's what I call I guess it's a dignified click, and it's repeatable. So I like that feel being the same every time. So the trigger's not bad. Like I say, we'll circle back to that in the range section. It's got a pretty good sized trigger guard, which is always something I'm going to mention because I've got long fingers, and I like being able to, I don't want to have to dig around to get inside the trigger guard when I need to use the gun. So a big trigger guard always is good for me. You got a little accessory rail here, and of course the grip, they've kind of spread out these little pads throughout the pattern of the grip, front and back, and of course it's mixed up within the magazines, which let me mention that too. So this particular package, you get two because they have 10 round and 15 round magazines to make it compliant in other states. And you can see here they're set up a little bit different. You have the big plate here on the 15, and they give you some flat plates and things like that too, so you can kind of, like most gun makers, you can change the stuff up a little bit as to how you're going to have it on the bottom. If you are using, say, the small magazine here, it does make the gun a little bit smaller. You still have that little lip there for your, and this is assuming that someone with a larger hand was going to use this. If you've got a small hand, the small magazine lip here is probably just fine for you. And of course, you've got the big magazine here, you've got the 15 round, and that's a really nice feel of the grip as well. So, it's easy to rack. It's got some nice features, and it seems to be finished pretty well too. If just looking at the gun, the fit and finish of how they've done it, it's a very nice looking handgun. So that's going to be your summary of features. So what you'll find when you shoot this gun, Ruger, obviously, the SECURITY-9, they've got other versions of this gun. I shot the SECURITY-9. I thought it was a pretty nice little gun. Ruger's been doing a good job here lately, I think, with the entries they've been bringing. And, because I just had Ruger revolvers up until, a couple of years ago, and I really didn't look at their semi-autos that close. But I think that as far as reliability and features, and a lot of them are priced competitively, I think they're doing a good job. So this platform, as I showed you earlier, it's pretty easy to rack. So when you step up to the range, you don't have that embarrassing problem of trying to, if you're someone with low hand strength, you don't have that embarrassing problem of trying to get this set. We had several females at the range, and they were very easily able to manipulate the slide. And of course, the 380 cartridge doesn't have quite as much punch to it as 9mm, and because you still have that larger frame. Now it's kind of strange because it's not a small frame, but it's lightweight, but it's a good enough package to where it absorbs the energy of the 380, so you don't really feel a whole lot. There's not a lot of recoil into the hand. And so you can shoot this, you can practice with it, and it doesn't really bother you the way a lot of guns. I've got a lot of small 9mm pistols that, after you've run a few magazines through them, you're looking at your hand wondering what's going on, because it begins to sting after a while. But this is very comfortable to shoot. And if you are a person that has considerations about either hand strength, or you need something lighter and maybe not as powerful, but you want something that's accurate, it's a good shooting gun. Like I say, I don't shoot defensively at ridiculous ranges anyway. I typically shoot at around 21 feet. And I can shoot as well with this gun as I can pretty much anything else. And that is, I can, make little 1 or 1.5 inch groups just right out of the box. So if I can do that with a gun like this, I think if you spent time practicing, you could probably do a lot better. But it's a nice gun. It shoots well. And like the other Ruger handguns that I've shot in this platform, it seems to be pretty reliable. So if you have considerations that can be met with this might be something that you might want to look at. So what's it like to carry the Ruger Security-380 as a concealed carry handgun? Well, I didn't have a Kydex holster or anything that would fit this custom. And this is right at that size where I don't mind using a sticky. If I get too much bigger than this, I don't do it. But I was pretty happy with this in a sticky holster, because the gun's really not that big. And once I get this in the waistband, it was extremely comfortable. And, I tried it with both magazines, and quite honestly, you get that little bit of extra on the larger magazine, and of course you got, the extra rounds. So it weighs a little bit more and it sticks out just a little bit more, but to me it was extremely comfortable in something like this. Now, if I was going to carry it all the time, I'll probably order a decent Kydex holster for it, something that's got a little bit of retention. I know some people, they're totally, anti-holsters that don't have any kind of retention. But this will fit in my, it'll actually fit in my jeans front pocket in a holster like this. It's right at the limit of what I can put in a pocket, but it will work. But in the waistband, carrying it about 3 o'clock position, it's really comfortable. It is really light. I mean, like I say, for a larger frame, you don't really feel it, because when I'm carrying like the little P30 here, like I mentioned earlier, it's small and it carries well in a sticky, because I carry a gun like this the same way. It carries well, but it's heavy. There's a big difference. I know I've got this in the holster. This, I can kind of forget about it, because it's light enough to where I don't really think about the fact that I've got something there at the 3 o'clock position. Obviously, I know it's there, but it's not bothering me all the time. So from a comfort standpoint, it's kind of hard to beat. And obviously, this is also the kind of gun that individual might want to carry, in their purse, or, they've got a lot of specialized purses now that have, holster pockets and things like that. So it's very light. It wouldn't add a lot of bulk or weight, so it's a really good option for someone who's looking for something a little bit lighter and less powerful and easy to use. Overall impressions of the Security-380. Well, I think that if you're a person who's been looking for some of the things that this gun is here to address, easy to manipulate the slide, very much so. It's got good capacity. You've got a 15 round magazine option and a 10. So it's got good features, good sights. It's got a manual safety. It's got a pretty good trigger, what seems to be a very reliable system. And it seems to be finished and made well. And then, of course, if you want to throw a bonus in there, it's really not that expensive. I mean, in my opinion, I see these around $350, $360 in the stores. And to me, that's not bad for a defensive handgun that's actually made well. I've seen handguns that were $300 that I wouldn't touch. So I think that they've done a really good job with this, and they've priced it in a way to where people might actually buy it. Now, I'll be totally, forthcoming with you and say that to me, this is definitely a gun for a specific kind of user. Because to me, if I'm going to carry something this size in 380, I've got options in 9mm and in 45 and other calibers that I like a little better, that are within the same package, because I don't have the same concerns that someone else might. But if you do have trouble racking a slide, and like I say, a lot of shooters I talk to, they're not just all ladies. There's people I talk to that are older men that have had hand injuries. They've got legitimate reasons. They have trouble making that move. And they've been really pleased with how easy this handgun is to use. So if you got concerns about hand strength, if you want something lighter that's made kind of well, and it's got good capacity, well, this is something you definitely might want to look at. It's a good price for a good set of features, so I think Ruger did good with this one, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, well, that's going to do it for today. As always, we really appreciate you being with us. We'll be back very soon with another video for you, so until that time, everybody stay safe and have a great day. Thank you.